So should we start? Yeah. It's 11, yeah.
Okay. So, good morning, everybody. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you on this power-packed webinar on demystifying ESG and why it matters for you and me. Now, this webinar is a run-up to our 3 months ESG certification program on strategic ESG for business sustainability and growth. And as I've already said earlier, that this program is a leadership catalyst. And we are now living, I mean, as you all know, that we are living in an age of polycrisis. And when I say the term polycrisis, which is being defined by World Economic Forum, it talks about simultaneous and interconnected risks, which get compounded in unpredictable ways. So in simpler terms, if we see, the world is being hit from everywhere, every direction, and all at once. And I'm sure all of you, every day when you open up your news channels, right, from terror to trade wars to inequality to climate urgency, this is what we are currently witnessing. And we are in a state of flux. So when we look at, our current state of affairs, we are dealing on an everyday basis with a lot of black swan events and now green swan events. So when we talk from a green swan perspective, now green swan events are the events which are triggered by climate change and they lead to a systemic financial crisis. And if you look at the data and the research which says that if for every 1 degree increase in temperature, there is 12% GDP hit, which the countries, the nations are taking. And businesses are someone who are the most vulnerable entities. So we say businesses are the ones who are responsible for the climate crisis which we are in. I mean, the way we've been practicing for almost 70 to 80 years now, all of us are aware of. But they say that, businesses are the only mechanism, who are powerful enough to create the change necessary for our survival. So with this note, I would like to start the webinar. And we have 3 very esteemed panelists with us. And we are honored to have all of you here. I would like to introduce my panelist. I would start with Dr. M.R. Das, who is an Executive Director of Human Resources. Sir heads CSR in Indian Oil Corporation Limited. Dr. Das is a veteran technocrat and a leader in India's energy sector. Sir oversees IOCL's leadership. IOCL is one of the India's largest companies, all of us know. And through Sir's leadership, IOCL is leveraging CSR and ESG to deliver social impact and drive sustainable growth across communities and business operations. We welcome you, sir. And second panelist, yes, is Ms. Dipali Dhulia. She is the head of ESG in Cushman and Wakefield, India. Dipali is a seasoned ESG professional in real estate and corporate space. She has a decade of experience in climate action and business sustainability and has in fact developed and implemented green building strategies, ESG frameworks in top leading organizations in India. And her current role in Cushman and Wakefield, she leads the ESG strategy for India's commercial real estate sector. We welcome you, Dipali, here on the panel. Our third panelist is Dr. Amit Kumar Thakur. Dr. Thakur is an Associate Director of Social Transformation and CSR at TERI. He is an expert in CSR, social impact and sustainability, and has over 20 years of experience in leading development and research projects. He has worked directly on more than 30 CSR and energy-related programs, partnering with government, foundation, companies, and in the policy side. So each of our speakers, I would like to tell all our participants, has led successful ESG transformation in the field. And today we would like, all of us will share insights on how ESG can be made practical and be impactful for all of you. And how this is ESG is the need for our, and this is the only hope which we have, to lead us all the business out of the crisis. So, sir, I would like to start the panel discussion with you. My first question to you, Dr. Das, would be, in your view, what are the biggest barriers and opportunities for ESG integration in energy sector? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Shruti. My curious audience, my co-panelists, Dr. Shruti, Dr. Amit, Dipali, and Pankaj Chandra from Zenora. Now, first of all, let me thank TERI and NDTV for giving me this platform to express my views, which I have undergone. And now, as far as Shruti, the barrier is concerned, I see three big barriers in the way of ESG transformation in any industry. The first and foremost being the ESG illiteracy, that is unawareness about what ESG is doing. In fact, let me, as Shruti Madman has been telling in ESG sessions, the honesty is the holy grail of ESG, honesty and transparency. Let me be honest that even I was, after 35, 36 years of service in such a big company, I was not aware that, as per World Economic Forum report, the extreme weather event is the single most biggest global risk. Number one. Number two, that in last 40 years, due to our Anthropocene activity, we have led to the crossing 6 planetary boundaries out of 9. And these boundaries were also not known to me. And I was not aware about the tipping point. Now the tipping point, the Arctic Ocean has already turned into a carbon source from carbon sink since 2017. So if I was not aware, even that 2023 is the warmest year in human history. And on 235 days of a year, one part of other part of the country had seen extreme weather events. Having known all this, now I have started taking company-wide action, which I will narrate later. But then I am really grateful to TERI for making me ESG literate. And that is the first step towards taking, ESG steps in any organization. And I think institute like TERI can play a role of BrahMos missile in killing this barrier or breaking these barriers. Now, the second biggest barrier I see is myopic leadership. Most of us in industry are struggling with Q1 to Q4 results or annual results. And we make or break careers of people basis this. Now, this has to stop. The leaders have to have a long vision so that they can create sustainable businesses. See, if we keep focusing on Q1 or Q2, Q3, Q4 results, I don't think we can do good to ESG. Now, ESG actually requires a long-term mindset so that the business is also sustainable and the ecosystem around us is also sustainable. Now, let us see the signals given by the big industries. Now, Apple is saying that they are sourcing their 100% of power requirement through renewables. That is a big statement. The Nike, the another giant, shoe giant, is now getting into recycled shoes. And the next generation is attracted towards that. These are big signals. Now, leaders have to imbibe that ESG is no more a nice practice. It is now a necessary practice if the business has to remain relevant and sustainable. The third big barrier I see is greenwashing. Now, greenwashing is something, you exaggerate and say that you are ESG compliant or you are through your BSR report or whatever report you are doing. So you just tick the checkbox and tell the world that you are compliant, whereas you are not. This is a big barrier. And if I can say the fourth barrier is, the investment requirement for doing away with your legacy assets or machinery, because you need investment. Now, if I say about opportunities, the opportunities are also huge. Now, green bonds and green financing is already on the offering. And our Prime Minister has already announced that, the productivity link scheme, various productivity link schemes in, this FAME 1, FAME 2, National Green Hydrogen Mission, and also on 28th June, 2023 government of India has already said that India's carbon trading scheme is going to start, and it is likely to be a 40 billion industry in next 5 years. So that is huge, and and I think other areas are biofuel and CBGs coming up in a big way from waste to energy. So these are big opportunities. And once again, at the cost of repetition, the leadership, the myopic leadership has to go, and leaders has to get awakened by such programs of TERI, and then they can drive initiatives and motivate the bottom of the pyramid to revolutionize ESG practices across the industry. That is all, Shruti. I think we can go to the next panelist.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Das, for highlighting and the opportunities related, towards ESG. In fact, you've spoken about, where how the whole ecosystem is transitioning. Where we look at it from a carbon market perspective, where we are looking at from an alternative, fuel or a renewable energy aspect. And I feel, as in fact, Dr. Anand Mahendra pointed out, that looking at climate change as a problem, we need to look at, from the business side, that more focus is look at it as an opportunity. So they say that, it is a $1.4 trillion opportunity, which is there, if you focus all your solutions in and around climate change. So for businesses, I think this is one of they need to look at it as an opportunity perspective. And rightly said, the biggest barrier towards this is awareness and sensitization. I feel that there is a lot of intention amongst corporates to follow ESG, the roadmap of ESG towards business sustainability, but still there is an intention to action deficit. So I think it's the knowledge, it's the awareness which has a major role to play. That how do we plug in the gap? How do we see that? How can we include these practices, for a better business sustainability in our day-to-day practices, in our day-to-day operations? So that sensitization needs to be done. In fact, somebody in the chat box has asked, is this, webinar energy specific? No, it is not energy specific. It's a very broader thing which concerns all the business. As we say that, sustainability is not, don't look at sustainability as something which is vertical, as a vertical. It is something which is horizontally embedded across all the domains. So this is relevant to everybody and everyone from a business perspective. Why we are talking? Because businesses are the most vulnerable entities here. So, and that is where, when we look at this certification program, we are looking at it as a broader movement to create an awareness and sensitization across, ESG. And with Dr. Das being one of our, esteemed panelists who represents India's energy sector, I think that is where it was right, sir, to start with you and talking to you, and, the guidance from your was very important. From this, I would
Thank you, Shruti. You have been my ESG guru also. So thank you for that.
Sir, it's been an honor. It's been an honor. So yes, moving on to our next panelist, Dipali. Dipali has been a practitioner in the field of sustainability. I think she's been practicing sustainability when sustainability was not even a fashion. So you've been instrumental in embedding creating those sustainability reports, embedding, CSG in the framework into the strategic vision of a lot of firms here, and sensitizing people about the whole domain of ESG. So Dipali, my question to you is, how do you see ESG evolving as a core business strategy, in corporate services or currently the real estate sector which you deal in?
Thank you so much, Shruti. Thank you so much for those kind words. And it's a pleasure being here with the esteemed panelists and the audience. I think it's a very, very valid question, because now ESG is no longer a peripheral concern, but now it's actually moving in the direction of being one of the core components of any corporate strategy across sectors. We are seeing and we are witnessing the change that ESG is becoming a topic of boardroom discussion. So definitely there's a change that we are seeing. And this overall transformation is actually driven by a lot of factors. One of the key things being the evolving expectations of the various stakeholders that actually exist in any business ecosystem. Now, if I talk about investors are actually putting a lot of pressure on their investee portfolio to integrate ESG and sustainability principles across their organization. investors are actually looking for stability. They are looking for risk mitigation and risk management, for which they want their investee portfolio to take it seriously and take up initiatives that can actually help them drive this change. We're also seeing that investors have their own commitments and targets across ESG that they want to get fulfilled. Now, for that, they're actually looking at the organizations where they invest in. They should be aligned with their commitments. They should be helping them with fulfilling the ESG targets that they have undertaken. And as Sir was rightly mentioning, as per the World Economic Forum's risk report, climate change is one of the top risks that exists. So definitely this change is also driven by these global phenomena and global impacts that everyone is witnessing now. In fact, the impacts of climate change, earlier we used to only talk about it in theory that, this is something which is happening. But now people have individually started facing the challenges and impacts of these climate change events. And people are actually believing in the fact that today is the time that we definitely require a sustainability mindset and a change where we can build a resilient infrastructure or business for that matter. Even from a regulatory perspective, I think last few years there has been a dynamic shift in the regulatory landscape, specifically in India. We know India is committed to net zero by 2070, and definitely that trickles down to the business fraternity, where they are expected to integrate ESG principles in the way they do business. And also, the biggest change that we've seen is the mandate by SEBI to mandate the top 1,000 listed entities to disclose their ESG related performance and data. And this doesn't stop here. This entire ESG data and performance has to be put out on the public domain. And there's also a push to get it verified and assured by third parties. So this definitely is pushing organizations to also build robust and efficient data management systems, because now everything is out and open. They have no choice but to put out their entire data out there. Everyone has access to it. All stakeholders have access to it. It can be compared to other organizations within the sector. So, there is huge amount of transparency that is being expected. So this is also, bringing about the change where there is a focus on technology and how the data can be managed more efficiently and more accurately. Another key factors and change that we're seeing is that the consumers or the customers are becoming more and more aware. As I mentioned, that they are seeing the challenges and impacts of climate related events and other things related to ESG. They are actually demanding and recognizing the value of consuming sustainable products or sustainable services. There is huge and rising scrutiny from them about what they are consuming, how it is made, who is making them, are they being treated rightly. So these are the questions that have started coming in. Of course, it's a gradual and slow process, but these are the questions that are being asked, and we are definitely witnessing that there is a shift in this regard. Talking from an occupier perspective as well, we are seeing that occupiers are also ready to pay a premium for buildings which have green credentials. And I would also like to highlight that slowly green building certifications are becoming the new normal, per se, Now it has become a by default standard practice. You see that a lot of new commercial spaces that are coming in, they are either green certified, they have certain elements of sustainability integrated in them. But now we're also seeing that occupiers are demanding more. They themselves have got compliance related or regulatory related pressure to disclose more, to meet more and more ESG requirements. So that pressure is also moving on to the developers. So it's a process which is actually trying to build the overall ecosystem where ESG is integrated across the entire life cycle of any business. Also, another change that we are seeing is that there is a focus from only, working towards our within our organizational boundary to moving beyond our organizational boundary to moving to our value chain partners to our entire business ecosystem. So no longer is the time where I can say that I have one small office space and I have no impact in the outside world. I need to ensure that I engage with my business partners, my suppliers, or other value chain partners, and I ensure that ESG is integrated in the entire ecosystem of the things that I do. So this is again another shift that we're seeing, and this is also driven by the regulatory requirement by SEBI, where from next year the companies are also expected to move towards the value chain partners, disclose their data, which is again a very huge and a challenging step and calls for a lot of interventions to have effective data management systems, and also having all the functions to be integrated and collaborated, because it cannot be done by one sustainability function. I think sustainability function is only the binding factor that brings everyone together under one umbrella, because it has to be driven from top down, bottom up, across the entire organization. Um, and we also see that, while larger companies have their own ESG commitments and targets because of the reasons that we've just discussed, even smaller mid-sized entities have started recognizing that there is value behind value in investing in ESG. Of course, there are certain elements within the space that can give them immediate results, which are measurable and quantifiable. For example, if I invest in energy efficiency measures, I know that in the next couple of years, I will get the payback. My operational cost will reduce. However, the elements which are under the social umbrella of the social side of the ESG, often you can't see immediate results, so there is a hesitation that there's no impact, there's no business case. But it is important to recognize that ESG in itself, there are certain elements that can give us immediate results, while others will have to be looked at from a long-term perspective, and there are benefits which will definitely bring intangible benefits to the organization. This element is being understood and recognized by many. Of course, the process is slow, but I think there will be more focus coming in from in embedding ESG aspects in decision making, in innovation, and other operational related stuff, because there is recognition that it improves access to capital, it improves brand reputation, and of course it helps companies and organizations to thrive and to sustain and also mitigate the risks that are associated with ESG and associated elements. So yeah, I think with this I give it back to you, Shruti, and we can take it up from here.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dipali, in fact, for highlighting that how is ESG now a strategic imperative, and it is a boardroom discussion point now. Because we see that now, the kind of way we practices or ESG has started impacting our bottom line and top line, both of the businesses. So it's more of, when you look at it from a sustainability perspective, that vision to look from a long-term perspective is more required than ever. And how you also highlighted very rightly that your consumers, all your stakeholders are asking about what kind of practices does a firm abide to, what kind of, so it's not only just a compliance, that is where we are talking from, that it is now we have moved from a compliance perspective to a more of a to creating helping a firm create a competitive advantage. So from compliance to competitive advantage, that is a narrative change which we are looking at. Somebody said that, yes, it is, this webinar is about, the 3 months ESG certification program, which we are launching here. And that is where, through our discussion, through the points which all of us are presenting, we want you to make understand that how is this, to create and sensitize about ESG, and how is it the much needed thing, or how the need of the hour, and very relevant from a business domain. So with that, I would like to now, ask Dr. Amit Thakur my question. that how can organizations, integrate community voices and grassroots concerns in their ESG framework? Yes, please.
Thank you, Dr. Shruti. And I think this is a very unique program on ESG, but not only limiting to ESG, but there are multiple dimensions to this. You have CSR, you have Sustainable Development Goals, we have the ESG. So we are in an era where nothing is in isolation. So to start with this, at first place, Terry would like to thank NDTV, Zenora, and NICE, National Institute of Solar Energy, which is an autonomous body of Government of India, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, who have kindly agreed to support this program as a knowledge partner. And this has a larger impact in the social space and in the ESG space. Because when you talk of CSR or social impacts, and that too at the grassroots level, the law, in fact, which was designed in 2014, the Companies Act 2013, that the whole focus was that the impact has to be on ground. And the larger point was that how NGOs can be engaged. As you all know, there are more than at least 10 lakh NGOs, in fact, who are working in India. So that's a big number, in fact, and not only job creation, but the capacity augmentation and strengthening of the NGOs have happened through CSR programs. It has led to a lot of job creation on ground, and it has led to new kind of social development across India. Since CSR, in fact, is a pan-India program, we have a diversity of projects across India. So in that context, when you do multiple projects, there are more than 25,000 CSR projects which are being implemented in India on annual basis. More than 30,000 crore is invested on CSR projects, and majority of the expenditure are going for the public welfare and for the communities. So there is strong voice, in fact, which we have been able to capture at TERI. We are very strongly working on ground with the communities. Though TERI is an energy, environment, climate change, and also a social implementing organization, we do a lot of CSR developmental projects. But in CSR, we have changed the mindset of all these stakeholders. So there are two aspects to CSR. In fact, it was only looked initially that something should happen on ground in terms of implementation in the hardware space. But it has a multiple set of stakeholders. One aspect is the governance aspect, which is driven by the board level. And now best of the minds are in fact involved in delivering CSR, from the policy formulation in terms of allocation of budget, in terms of a structured project, time-bound programs, and there are very scrutiny of projects and also of the officials who are implementing it. So it's not just a tick box approach right now, but it's something very structured. And when I come to the second part of CSR, one is the governance aspect, second is the operation aspect. Operation aspect simply means that how CSR projects are designed and operationalized on ground. And now when they're operationalized on ground, it's not only about spending budget. You have to design project, you have to work on, there are more than 12 themes, in fact, from environment sustainability to rural development to education, model villages. There are a lot of other themes also, in fact, and they're very much in sync with the sustainable development goals. And there are 17 sustainable development goals, and not only in terms of saying that these goals are just for the namesake. We not at TERI, we have been doing multiple projects for the public sector organization, for the corporates. We have been telling from the very beginning that CSR has to be linked to the sustainable development goals, and ESG, not only the environment part, social part, and we have been, strongly advocating that how governance, in fact, also be further strengthened to see CSR not in silos, but CSR integrating with sustainable development goals and the ESG. 7 years ago, at one of the important event of a public sector organization, there I tried to establish this link of CSR, ESG, and sustainable development goal. And there is a strong linkages. And what happens that when you try to do such projects, capture the data properly, then data is important for disclosure for the ESG part also, and that's the stakeholders, in fact, they are looking to this aspect very strongly, that what kind of data is being produced and how it is reported and how it is disclosed. So there is a big in fact debate that how the data should be taken, and larger companies have large set data, and they and also there is benchmarking, there are peers with whom they need to compare, but again there are a lot of questions around that. So whatever format one follows, it should be very robust, and the data should be to an extent that it should not be too much debatable, in fact. But again, companies are getting in sync with that. I'll give a quick example of some of the CSR projects which have come from the community voices, that how they can be improved. For example, we do a lot of work on solar and promoting solar energy across the country. We also had a very big program with NDTV, Lighting a Billion Lives, which started in 2008, and now we are trying to promote it to the next level in form of lighting to LABL 2.0, which will be more towards livelihood. The whole idea is that how this whole transition has happened and the mindset change has happened. Even the solar panel that you put, the efficiency also matters a lot. When you used to do earlier, then the panels were of different type. Now it's of different kind. There are mono panels, there are poly panels. So you also need to see what type of panels need to be deployed, which has higher efficiencies and which takes less space. And that's also part of the ESG framework. And that efficiency is also going to mitigate, some emissions. And also, if you are putting on the rooftop, we have a good program, in fact, with the government right now, and the PM Surya Muft Yojana also pushes very strongly to have your own solar panels at your house and produce solar energy. So this is another critical example I am giving, that small steps can bring a huge change. And also when we do a lot of projects on ground, we get a lot of new perspective. We try to imbibe in our reports, in the CSR reports. We try to communicate those points to the corporates and eventually to the ministry, which is a facilitator, in fact, in the process. And that's how the larger understanding has to be there for the companies also. There, in fact, CSR department is separate, ESG is separate. ESG spans across an organization. And CSR is also not limited to the CSR department. It's a pan-India program. Sustainable development goal is not limited to India. It's a global thought process. And in fact, in SDG goals, what we are seeing right now is we haven't achieved, in fact, even 30-35% in many of the categories. And we will fall short of achieving the targets in all the 17 parameters and the targets which are as part of the 17 goals. So coming very quickly to the point, in fact, on the ESG, environment sustainability is one important aspect where the corporations, the communities should look into this, how they can be more efficient and how they can care more about environment at the waterfront, how to minimize waste, how they can use more solar. Second part, the social responsibility part in terms of the companies, how they can engage more with the communities, or they how fair dealing with the employees. Third part, the governance structure, what type of board composition is there. And as per the Harvard Business Study and Review paper, economic sustainability is also crucial in that aspect, because if the profit are there, then the companies is more capable in terms of doing the environment part, social part, and in fact the governance gets strengthened. So 4 important takeaways for ESG linking to CSR. If it is done properly, first, the long-term value creation happens through this. There is a reduced risk. There could be some initial investment, but long-term, it's all profit maximization. Third part, in fact, is increased stakeholder engagement. That's the whole purpose. Stakeholder is not limited to the companies. It's more about the communities. It's more about reaching and seeing from outside perspective, and that leads to better investment. And definitely innovation and capital aspect. So that also improves a lot. So to me, in fact, sustainability, sustainable development goal, and CSR are interlinked, and there is a paradigm change which is happening in ESG, and I think the companies need to take a note. Their employees should contribute to it and try to see that how we can have a better planet. So this is from me as of now, and thank you, Dr. Shruti, in fact, for giving me this opportunity to interact with the larger audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thakur, and thank you very much for highlighting the critical role of CSR. When we look at meeting our objectives of ESG and business sustainability, and differentiating between ESG, CSR, and sustainability. That is where these three concepts are used very interchangeably. So I think where if we look at the triple helix model, where the why or the purpose is sustainability, how it's done is ESG, and what all you do are through CSR programs and projects. So I think the program which we will be launching, our 3 months ESG certification program, will talk about this and much more. It would talk about how do you create an ESG framework for your business, what kind of tools and frameworks can you use. Dr. Thakur even highlighted about the data part here. So we will also in our programs, we will highlight that how do you capture those ESG data? How do you make an ESG framework which aligns with the strategy of your firm? How do you do a risk audit? All of this and much more. I think we have Pankaj with us, who will talk about the course curriculum, because somebody is asking in the chat box. So I thought I would like to address this now. But last, in fact, before ending our panel discussion, I would like to go back to Dr. Das. And sir, I would like to ask a question to you that, how, looking at your extensive work you've done in this field, now we've spoken about leadership, what is the leadership role and how critical ESG is, from the leadership perspective, for as a putting it like from a buy-ins from the board of directors. I want to ask you that how can, we create a bottom-up movement from ESG? So I wanted to understand your point of views on that.
Thank you, Shruti. That is very important. In fact, once leaders are awakened, it is very much important that we create a revolution around the company, and that is possible only when each individual starts contributing. As Amit ji was also saying, see, there was a statement in our class that, कुछ लोगों के बड़ा करने से कुछ नहीं होगा, बहुत लोगों के थोड़ा थोड़ा करने से बहुत कुछ हो जाएगा. So that is very, very important, and I have really experienced and practiced this. And to do better in CSR and better in this sustainable development, we have come out with 2 concepts. One is ISR, and then ISD. ISR is about individual social responsibility, wherein each person is made responsible to do something out of his own, no support from company. Now, let me give an example. I will illustrate for example. Now, we have come out with the ISR policy wherein, each individual is giving blood, donating blood. So donating blood across, 500 business units across the country. So last year we could, donate 8,000 units of blood. So each individual, when he indulges in sense of giving, that is very, very important. When sense of taking migrates to sense of giving. So sense of giving is inculcated through blood donation camps. Now each business unit is doing that, and when we start having the joy of giving, and let me tell you, we migrate from being human to human being. So that is something that will propagate ESG and also CSR. Now another good step we have taken across all our gated society in colonies. Now each housewife is tagged to children of the housekeeping staff, housemaids, and security guards. Now their children come to our residential complexes, and when the daytime, when our community hall is empty, now these females, they're all more or less educated only. They're all nobody is less than graduate. They are mapped to each child, and then they try to improve their study scores, progress reports, and all. This creates an altogether different kind of bond. So this is something we are terming as ISR, that is individual social responsibility. And when each individual starts enjoying this practice, they come out with bigger practices, and they really help us do better CSRs. And let me tell you, now that we have done CSRs wherein in Mumbai transgenders we have taken, and then 180 transgenders have been upskilled, and now they are 80% of them are engaged in places like Taj Mahal Palace, the in Kolaba, and Orchid Hotels and all as back-end staff. So that is how we are trying to revolutionize or change the lives of people who are left to begging or prostitution. So ISR is one concept we have come out, and also every 3 months people are discarding, come to office, and they come with old clothes, old books, and we go to a village and donate. So these kind of steps are really creating a lot of awareness among our children also, next generation also, and creating a revolution around CSR. And another thing, what I talked about ISD. Now, ISD is something, you usually become sustainable. Your health, your mental health, yoga practicing, and also involving yourself in green inside your house, inside your kitchen garden, develop your kitchen garden, and also doing composting out of your kitchen waste. These are few practices each house is started practicing, and that also creates a lot of awareness to your visiting guests, visiting friends, and that is how it is, creating ripples around the society. So that is very important, and these are few things we can, create a bottom-up approach and a awakened leader through such literacy programs and such certification programs. I think this can create wonders in days to come. So that is what I had to tell Shruti about, the individualistic approach or bottom-up approach to CSR or ISR. So
Yeah.
back to Shruti.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much about highlighting an individual's role, in mitigating the poly crisis, where we started the whole discussion, poly crisis, and why this is a decade. UN calls it a decade of action. There is a decade of hope and a decade of action, and how climate actions are so critical. So right from this, yes, the boardrooms or the leaderships do have a responsibility, the top-down approach, but yes, there has to be a bottom-up movement also, and through ISD, which is your individual sustainable development, through some lifestyle changes, through some behavior changes, how can we create a ripple effect in the society which can lead to a bigger change? So thank you so much for highlighting that. And Dipali, just the last point from you before we move into Pankaj, who can talk about the course curriculum, our 3-month certification program. What are your parting thoughts on this, Dipali? Just thank you.
Shruti, I think it's been a very interesting discussion and very, very good insights from everyone from the panel. But to close, I would like to highlight a couple of points around, how can companies start out their ESG journeys who are just embarking on ESG and who want to integrate ESG in their business? How do they start? So I think for this, the first and the most important point is to set a very, very strong and robust ESG foundation. And when I say this, I definitely like to mention that ESG cannot exist in silos. It is something which is an integrated and a collaborative approach between all the different business functions that exist in any organization. Yes, we have just discussed that it requires a bottoms-up approach, but I think a top-down approach at the same time is also very, very critical, because a single sustainability department cannot drive sustainability. It definitely requires everyone to come together and drive action. And I think one important point that requires this change to happen is a very, very focused approach to mindset shift and a structured change management exercise, which we often forget when we're starting our ESG journey. So it's important that these elements of change management and mindset shift are taken up seriously. And it is done across the organization so that every function, every individual is aware why we are doing this, what are the benefits that we are going to get out of this. Because usually the thought process of other functions is that, sustainability is a cost center, which is spending money. It's not giving us any benefit. It's not improving our numbers. But it's important to recognize the fact that there is definite business case when they integrate ESG elements and they take up those initiatives. And there is a definite payback period that exists, which will eventually impact their numbers. So, of course, having a good business performance is important, but equally having a good ESG performance is now becoming critical, because both of them drive business sustenance and the financial impact. Apart from this, I think the next step is definitely to identify what are the key ESG material areas for any organization, because we can't work on anything and everything. We have to be very focused. We have to identify these are the top 5 to 6 areas I want to focus on. I want to build a strategy around that, so that I can demonstrate every year that through my initiatives I've been able to bring about that change and impact. And then, of course, we spoke a lot about a comprehensive governance framework from a CSR perspective, but even from an ESG perspective, it's very critical to have a robust governance structure where the leadership and the top management is also involved. There is commitment and direction from them. And then, of course, it has to be driven across different functions within an organization. And this will also ensure that the efforts and ESG as a concept is not peripheral, but it is central to decision makers and the top management, so that change can happen quicker. And there is belief across the organization that yes, we are integrating this in our organizational culture, and it is each individual's responsibility to drive action in some way or the other. And the last point that I would definitely want to highlight is that you cannot measure it if you can't improve it. So it's very, very important to have strong data management and data measurement systems, so that we know what is our current situation, what is our baseline. And when we know and we have data backed case studies of different areas, then only we'll be able to define some strategic direction or target to improve those specific areas. So we are also seeing that there's a greater convergence of ESG with digital transformation. Organizations have started leveraging technologies to ESG data management. Of course, there's a long way to go, but I strongly feel that utilization of digital tools and platforms for effective data management will really help in driving action and achieving larger results. And of course, lastly, we have to be transparent. We have to show accountability. So it's very, very important to have transparent disclosures around the ESG areas of any organization. So I think a combination of all of these will actually help to set a very, very strong foundation of ESG in any organization.
Thank you so much, Dipali. And in fact, you've given all the pointers what the course is based on. So very carefully, this course, in fact, I would like to highlight to all the audience here, has been very carefully curated by, all of us at TERI, with, with different stakeholders coming from different practitioners, companies, and even, very closely with NICE, Zenora, NDTV. So this is a course which we have curated, which caters to all the points which all the panelists have discussed during the panel discussions we've had. So where, in fact, the talking about, like, as Dipali spoke about the data management, that has also been captured in the course curriculum, where, we talk from a framework perspective, but we even help you in calculating your baseline emissions. This course will also help you in understanding your life, doing a life cycle assessment, calculating your footprint, and measuring and managing it better. As they say, what can be measured, that can be managed. So this is where the whole webinar context, which was, an official launch of our 3-month certification program, wanted to unmask, ESG, wanted to basically break the clutter, or, clear the white noise which is around ESG, and help you understand the relevance of ESG in a better way, and help you in, how can you use ESG for the success of your business and business sustainability. So with that, in fact, I would now ask Pankaj if you can just log in, and because I see a lot of questions in the chat box, which talks about the course curriculum and what the course is all about and how can they register. Yes, please.
Thank you, Dr. Shruti. So a lot of questions are about the choice of MBA program and the certification. I think as you would have gathered from the discussion, this is a program for 3 months. It's for the leadership. I think it's more relevant for people who are hard pressed for time. I think they should go ahead with this course and this program. About the enrollment of the program, all the details have been put in and shared in the chat box. There's a link there of Zenora. You could write to us or WhatsApp to us. All the numbers are here in the chat box. We will get back to you very quickly. Any other questions you may have about the program, please go ahead. All I can tell you as Zenora is that we've been able to bring all the stakeholders like NDTV, TERI together, and also NICE has come on board. They're under the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. So they'll also bring in a lot of research and context to the program. Any other questions, you can write to us later. We'll get back to you. Thank you.
Yes, there's a question, I think, in the chat box. We can answer the questions and queries. If I'm not able to see the question, if somebody can highlight the questions.
One question is that will we get to work on live company data and make a report? So Dr. Shruti, if you can take that.
Yes, so there would be a capstone project which will be there. So there are certain projects which TERI is already working on. So as a part of a capstone project, the participants would be trained to handle a live case study. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay,
so
thank you.
Questions about the details of the program and everything. I've put them in the chat box. I wouldn't want to take time of all the participants and the panelists on that. So there's a link with extensive details on what you could do. But I think as a first step, if it's difficult to remember, just log in and write to us. There's a WhatsApp number also. Just write to us and drop in a line. We'll get back to you.
Anything about the course curriculum, Pankaj, if they can ask us here, all of us are there, we can answer about the course curriculum. Anything is there in the chat? Okay, the faculty. Okay, somebody has asked, Shanti has asked, but who will be the faculty? So I am the program director, Shanti. I am a faculty at TERI School of Advanced Studies. There would be other faculties from TERI. TERI, as you know, we are the pioneers in sustainability education. So as far as all the faculties from TERI SAS School of Advanced Studies, plus we have through NDTV and NICE, we have got a few stalwarts who've been practicing in this domain. So it would be a mix of, practitioners, and it would be a mix of policy makers and academicians who will be your faculty for the program. We have Dr. M.R. Das, who will be also taking a few sessions, in this domain of social impact. We have Dr. Amit Thakur right now with us, who will be also talking about, from an industry perspective, from a practitioner perspective, about the CSR projects and what kind of challenges in the implementation part, or what kind of an opportunity and how can organizations practice it. So right from the global frameworks, which you will be getting a hands-on, knowledge about, to how do you implement it, how do you strategize about it. So there will be faculties who will be telling you about all of that. Yes, please. Anything else?
Question about the course fee. I think I've already put that in the chat box. And there's an offer for all the people who are on the webinar today. We've put a discounted package of about 15%. You can have a look at that also and enroll in this course. We will also have a series of webinars in the coming weeks to the run-up of the course, which we will formally then start in July. But because of the planning and registration process, we've given ourselves 3 to 4 weeks for that. Over to you, Dr. Shruti.
Okay. I think for us also, we have spoken about demystifying ESG and why it matters to all of us. So it is, when you look at this whole domain, when we say that there is an existential crisis, and we started with crisis, which currently all of us are facing today. So it becomes everybody's responsibility. And I said, when individual, society, community, and nation's responsibility to work towards it. And ESG gives us a roadmap. from going from a polycrisis to a, purposeful co-creation. And currently, I feel that we are somewhere in a resetting mode. So currently what we were practicing, business as usual, will no longer sustain. All of us know, all the business people, all of them know that what kind of crisis they are facing here. So that is where, we need to step up our game, I think, and there has to be a shift, a transformational shift towards, aligning all our practices, the ESG practices towards ESG for a better business sustainability. So that would be all from my side. And
Dr.
thank you.
Shruti, I'm getting 2-3 questions on the Zenora email ID. I think people have put some questions there. One question is that will this help us in a career advancement? These are mid-level people asking that question.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Very,
This is
very, very essential.
Dr. Das, you should answer that. Yes.
I as a HR head, I can tell you that ESG holds a lot of promise in days to come. Let me tell you, come carbon tax in India, and you will see the surge of job in Indian market. So carbon tax is likely to, or carbon trading scheme is likely to come anywhere towards the end of this year or early next year.
So Dr. Das, my follow-up question would be that then if it's to do with taxation, are the CACS fraternity more inclined to do this, or it's for everyone? What about marketing and salespeople?
Neeraj, let me tell you that it is going to be everybody's business. Everybody, even CS also.
Yes. For them, all the more important compliance people who are making reports. So for them, they have to create reports. So ESG, that is what we're saying, more from everybody's aspect. Yes, sir.
So whether he is a manufacturing, a production officer in the plant or CA in the back office, it is going to be relevant to each and everyone. So I see a lot of, career prospect in ESG. As I told you, it is going to be $40 billion market by 2030 in India.
The next 5 years to go now then.
Yeah.
So that is where, and we have
So,
a lot of skill gap deficit here. And that is where, courses like this would help, in a career progression for most of the mid-career professionals. So yes, and for us, yes, creating an awareness and sensitization is what our intent is here.
Shruti, there are certain questions about courses and then, internship and also certain other questions, the physical visit to the colleges. I think you can take those.
Yes, absolutely. So, Pankaj, can we take questions one by one? Yes, there is an immersion program where you will be visiting TERI Gwal-Pahari, which is, I think Amit ji would be able to tell about the, yes.
Yeah. So there is a immersion program within this hybrid program where you will be visiting a green sustainability center which TERI has in Delhi, at the outskirts of Delhi, and that is a classic example where you have all the sustainable technologies from waste management till water till solar till forestry and wastewater management. All the technologies are there. So it's a wonderful green campus of 100 acres, and there will be placed for 2 days with all the participants, and you'll get a huge exposure, and you'll be staying there, and 2 days there will be direct interaction within that campus.
Yes.
Dr. Amit, I have stayed and experienced the natural AC that TERI offers there. Natural AC.
So there is a very unique concept which this center is almost it was established in year 2000. It is completing 25 years. It was inaugurated by Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, and there is a unique concept. We have the center is almost carbon neutral, and we don't use ACs. In fact, in the stay facility and in the conference hall, there is a concept called Earth Air Tunnel, which the technology and the concept is that when you go 4 meters below the earth and use this technology, then the average temperature, then the temperature that you have in the rooms or in the conference hall is the average temperature of that place. For example, Delhi has a temperature in winter 0 or even less than that, and the maximum goes to 48 to 50 or beyond that. So we maintain a temperature naturally through this earth air tunnel, 24 degrees Celsius within the rooms and in some of the conference hall. So there are many such empty examples which we give, and TERI was first to do this almost 20 years ago. So this is the foresightedness we had on sustainability, and therefore we do feel that small pieces, if you learn from all these experiences, can have huge impact on companies and on our earth, in fact, which is struggling with many issues, in fact, and we majorly are creating those challenges for our planet. So that will be great experience, in fact, staying in that camp.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
talking
Question
about
from Santosh.
Shruti, talking about the scope. Let me tell you, after being trained from TERI, I as a national HR had introduced 1 hour module in each and every training across the country. Each and every training has to have 1 hour module. Now that itself is a huge scope for trainer in ESG.
Yes. So right from the starting point, sir, it is like though we say that it's strategic ESG leadership, yes, because we want to, train our leadership so that awareness is there. But right from the beginner level also. So currently we
Right.
see for past 2-3 years, I think Dipali can also help us that, every now company is opening a sustainability vertical. So there are a lot of requirements from the the entry level also. There are a lot of requirements for the ESG professionals to be there. So that is where, when we look at our TERI SAS, the MBA Sustainability Management programs, has a bigger role to play. We see our students going and working in under these verticals. So if you're at a beginner level also, this course is helpful for you. If you're at a leadership level also, so this is helpful for you because you can strategize better. But then in entry level also for your career progression, as Das sir said, that it is required, that across every level. And yes, we believe in, I think I saw somebody on the chat box wrote about, will we have continuous, there would be assessments. So yes, there would be continuous assessments, and after it's a 13-week program. So after every 4 weeks, there will be assessment and understanding that, whether to check whether you've been able to understand the concepts in a better way or not. So continuous assessments would be there, and you have to successfully complete the program, for your certifications to happen. Somebody is talking, yes, this is an online course. As Dr. Amit mentioned, it's a 2-day immersion program, which we will have, at the end of the program. But it would be an online program every Sunday, 9:30 to I think 12 o'clock is the time where you can log in, and the sessions can be conducted online. So, and it ends with a capstone project. As we mentioned, there will be a live project which you will be doing, not an internship, but at a project for a successful completion of a certification program. I hope I've answered. Yes, Pankaj.
Yeah, that's
Somebody's
somebody
asking
had
what
asked that
percentage.
she's 21
What
years experience and into EHS. I think whether this is relevant for me, and going by Dr. Das's recommendation, I think it's really apt for him, and he should take this up. The other questions, I think, Dr. Shruti, you've already taken up. So Santosh had asked that question about 21 years of experience. Will we have to go to the campus twice a week? No, this is online over the weekend, Sunday, 3 to 4 hours on a Sunday, but 2 days immersion at campus. The eligibility criteria is very simple. Either you have 10 years of work experience and you're a graduate and above, you can enroll for this course. Any one of them. What is the percentage of ESG being implemented by corporates and industry present in India? I think the faculty here is best to answer, but I would say everyone, because when you look at ESG, there's environment, there's social, there's governance. I'm from an advertising sales background, and I am now moving into this area. So you can imagine the relevance of ESG today. So
Pankaj, talking from the mandatory angle,
yes,
now SEBI has mandated that 1,000 top listed company have to necessarily file the BRSR report. So that means they have to necessarily do it. So as of now, I will say it is still in nascent stage in our country, but then it is bound to pick up as and when the carbon taxes come, it is bound to pick up.
I may add that, while this started with 500 companies and moved to 1,000 companies, the BRSR report, but there are scores of hundreds of other companies who are not listed, but still disclosing their sustainability, initiatives. So there are many companies who are not listed, especially companies which are dealing with suppliers and value chain across the country. I think people around the world would want to see what their ESG scores and their commitments are. So there are many other companies which are following this. And I think the biggest testament that I see is today when I look at any annual report of any company, I think the chairman or the top leaders are only talking about environment, social, and governance aspects. I don't think they talk about profitability and my turnover. I see that one pager which is only talking of these three parameters. So with that, maybe I can rest my case.
Yes,
Neeraj,
sir.
in fact, investors are looking at your ESG profile, you know.
Your funding, I think that is what you and Dipali also mentioned, sir, that funding is, now, they look at your ESG report and then your risk audit is being done. So it's become very mandatory. I think it's the only game left, sir, for businesses. You have to align this way, either look this way, or it's difficult for you to, survive or undergo. So that is important. Yes.
And also quickly, I would like to say, in fact, in the CSR domain, in fact, companies, CSR has completed 10 years now in India, and now is CSR 2.0 in place. So 14, 24, so now from 25 till the next 10 years. So now those and the companies are now very specific. They're just not doing CSR for the sake of doing it. They're looking for ESG, sustainable development goals, maybe coming up with new set of solutions, very customized, very specific, and we have been able to do that on ground. We can see that, and the way it is progressing, the professionals. If you see, 25,000 companies are eligible for CSR in India, then it at least creates at least 5 jobs are there. Then every year you have around 2 lakh jobs being created. So there's 1,000 company is just a testing ground on BRSR report for ESG, but it is now RA report has also come, which is called reasonable assurance, which is mandated now from the last 1 year. So a lot of things are happening, and as Dr. Shruti mentioned, that this is the only way to go. If you don't do it, then you'll be left behind, and the professionals need to integrate all these things in their imbibe all these concepts in their working, and that's what will help you to grow and reach to a leadership level.
Yeah, I think yes,
Like
Dipali.
to make this point, Shruti, since we're talking about this, when I started, I did talk about how investors, regulators, consumers, all stakeholders are driving this change. But I would also like to highlight that every function in any organization is actually already practicing some element or the other of ESG. So if we talk about procurement, if we talk about HR, operations team, EHS, CSR related departments, any other department, I think it's the amalgamation of the efforts of all the functions that actually contribute to improvement in the overall ESG and sustainability performance. So I think this topic is very much relevant to all business functions, even though they don't call themselves as ESG professionals, but they will eventually have to undertake actions and initiatives that form part of ESG. So the relevance is definitely there today as well, and it is likely to grow only. It's not likely to come down.
Actually true, Dipali, I think, and we all are very big, strong believers, and that is what we have seen also, how the space has evolved, and that is where we want to create that kind of a push in the fraternities working. So I think with that, we've already exceeded time, because the discussion is always so engaging, with there's so much of work experience and passion which comes in. So I think here we would like to end our panel discussion. I would like to thank all the esteemed panelists, Dr. Das, Dipali, Dr. Thakur, all of you for joining in and clearing the white noise around ESG, demystifying ESG and making us understand that why does it matter for the boardroom, in the boardroom discussion, and why does it matter to individuals, communities, and societies? So thank you from my side, and over to Pankaj. Yes.
Thank you so much. I think we've already exceeded the time. All the details have been shared with the participants. Most of the questions about enrollment have been answered on a private chat window also to your individual questions. For other things, please log on to Zenora Hub and write to us. We'll get back to you. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes,
Yeah,
I think we can handle the question. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.